Priowal, a drifter who aimlessly roams the land with no foundations or residence, finds himself in a peculiar situation. While wandering the fair, he encounters a tall figure that triggers a mysterious turn of events. Suddenly, he regains consciousness in a pitch-black space, devoid of any light. Paralyzed and unable to move, Priowal wonders if the man he met at the fair is somehow involved in his current mess. What could be the man's motive behind this? As time passes in the darkness, Priowal struggles to maintain his sanity by reminding himself of who he is. However, the nagging feeling of hunger adds to his despair. He questions why he has been cast into this wretched place without a discernible reason. As his senses slowly return, Priowal attempts to follow the sound of water drops, hoping to alleviate his thirst. Unfortunately, a rock wall stands between him and the source of water, deepening his anguish. A figure appears before Pio, mirroring his own appearance. Mocking and taunting him, the figure derides Pio's efforts to survive, proclaiming that he has nothing left to live for. Despite the figure's cruel words, Pio refuses to succumb to despair. He understands that he cannot find peace in death while trapped in this grim situation. Determined to survive and seek revenge on those responsible for his predicament, Pio resorts to extreme measures. He consumes the moss growing on the walls, driven by the desperate need to sustain himself. Suddenly, an iron door materializes, and a bowl containing various scraps of food is hurled into his cell. Pio deduces that there must be 5 managers, implying there are potentially others trapped in this dark place with him. Pio has been trapped in this darkness for 4 long months. Every day, a small door opens to provide him with food. Initially, he feared that he would lose his sanity in this void, with nothing to occupy his mind. Surprisingly, he finds himself adapting to his surroundings. Pio starts working out to build strength, and during one of his sessions, he notices a pair of glimmering red eyes in the corner of the room. At first, he mistakes it for a centipede, but as the eyes draw closer, he realizes it's a snake. Despite its venomous bite setting his body ablaze with pain, he recalls tales of people growing stronger after surviving such venom. Intrigued by the potential for increased resistance, Pio allows the snake to bite him again. Then, one day, the door finally opens, granting Pio an exit from his confinement. Stepping into a dark, elongated hallway, he musters the courage to open one of the doors. Inside, he discovers the decaying corpse of someone around his age. Continuing down the hallway, he reaches a massive iron door, its bolts already removed. With a mixture of anticipation and fear, Pio opens the door. Pio opens the gate and discovers 2 individuals in the corridor who, like him, believed they were the sole survivors. Sharing the news that there are others like them, Pio invites them to follow him. However, it becomes apparent that Pio is the only one adjusted to the darkness as they stumble their way forward, hand in hand. Their progress reveals more individuals trapped in the depths. Eventually, Pio opens one final door, and as they step into the light, they are momentarily blinded. After spending so long in darkness, even the faint glow of a torch is enough to overwhelm their vision. They find themselves in a vast expanse of land dotted with hastily constructed buildings. One of the survivors, a girl named Li Min, notices that Pio's pupils are red. Pio speculates it may be a consequence of the snake's bite. Another survivor, Yeo Wol, approaches them and asks if Pio plans to join the group of children who have decided to stick together. Pio hesitates, stating he will see how things unfold before deciding. Even though the children had only been together for a short period, various groups had already formed, with Pio not belonging to any of them. Rumors about him, as the sole survivor from his section, began to circulate. The presence of moss on the walls suggested that this underground space had been built long ago and was recently repurposed by someone wealthy. A basket containing food descends from the ceiling, and representatives of the groups gather to distribute the rations. When Pio approaches to collect his share, he is stopped by Yeon Iljung, one of the representatives. In a fit of anger, Pio attacks Yeon, resulting in Yeowol stepping in to defuse the situation. Yeowol promises that Pio will receive his portion of food untouched. Pio reluctantly yields, but not before Yeon suffers the loss of an eye. Pio begins to believe that this violent confrontation is a way to weed out the weaker children, knowing that more lives will be lost in the process. Yeol, now leading the largest group, approaches Pio once again and extends an invitation for him to join her group. Pio repeats his disinterest in joining any group. Another basket descends from the ceiling, this time containing significantly less food. One by one, the weakest members of all the groups began to die, consumed by starvation and their own inner demons. The darkness bore witness to the daily discovery of fresh corpses. Pio, sustained by the moss on the walls, managed to survive amidst the growing chaos. Yeon Il-jung, leading his own group through the corridors, sought to find Pio, driven by a desire for revenge. Suddenly, one of Yeon's group members was bitten, falling lifeless to the ground. Fear-stricken, they demanded the unknown assailant reveal themselves. Seizing the opportunity, Pio swiftly subdued one of Yeon's men, contemplating whether to spare his life or succumb to the darkness within. Ultimately, in a moment of grim resolve, Pio decided to end the man's life, questioning whether he would have survived for much longer anyway. With only Yeon remaining in the corridor, his desperation pushed him to negotiate with Pio. Recognizing the vainess of any alliance, Pio swiftly struck, leaving Yeon lifeless on the ground. Since Yeon Il-jung was discovered dead, his group disbanded. Once the other survivors learned that Pio had killed Yeon, fear and terror spread among them. How had Pio managed to single-handedly eliminate 4 individuals? No one dared to approach him now. The situation had escalated to a point where killing became necessary to secure food. Go Yongsan, a group leader, fell into a trap set by S. Yewol and Song Cheon-woo, who aimed to eliminate him and his followers. Yongsan pleaded for them to spare his followers, offering himself as the sole sacrifice. However, Yeowol's priorities were clear, and she ordered her followers to kill them all. Pio, observing the events unfold from above, realized that whoever had trapped them intended to desensitize them to killing. They were being molded into tools to be used in dangerous environments. It seemed they were being raised to become assassins, as their very essence was shattered, and they were cast into this torturous existence. The other kids had grown accustomed to murder, except for one, Lee Min. The hole in the ceiling unexpectedly opened earlier than anticipated, and Yeowol's group, hopeful for a meal, braced themselves. However, instead of food, armed men descended and launched an attack. 3 masked figures followed suit, the true orchestrators behind it all. One of the masked men, referring to himself as the First Sword, asserted his authority over them, declaring that their lives now belonged to him. Any hesitation was met with swift beheading, instilling fear in them all. In a flashback, the 3 masked men discussed the curse poison, a lethal experiment where organisms in a jar would consume each other until only the strongest remained, possessing the most potent poison. Their plan worked flawlessly, ensuring that only the most wicked survived, Yi-wol, Song Cheon-woo, and Kang-il being the prominent survivors. However, Pio, the sole survivor of Sector 1, defied their expectations. With the least amount of food and the poorest conditions, his survival was remarkable, gaining special attention. They had to hurry. There were only 6 years left to complete the request. They pondered why the captain accepted such a request in the first place, privy only to the blood phantom, a request for assassination. The masked men involved the children in various tasks to train them. Yeowol had been the most exceptional, while Pio's performance remained average. Pio, however, was curious about learning the thunder-splitting cultivation technique. Although it seemed impossible to physically split thunder, Pio believed it referred to the speed of one's thoughts. He diligently studied the technique at night. Despite it no longer being required, he believed it would improve his learning abilities. During a fight, Pio initially only defended but eventually succumbed to taunting and attacked without a blade. One instructor noticed this and was impressed when Pio swiftly wounds his opponent without a weapon. The instructors were satisfied with the candidate's progress and believed they could be trained within 5 years instead of 7. The masked men discussed their target, the most talented man in Sichuan. They knew they had to be careful, as failure could jeopardize the entire Blood Phantom group. Training the children with no connection to them ensured minimal repercussions in case of failure. After Pio defeats his opponent, First Sword swiftly appears, holding a sword to Pio's neck in a movement too quick for the naked eye to follow. He warns Pio to leave no traces and complete his mission diligently as First Sword's gaze falls on Pio's defeated opponent, who lays on the ground clutching his broken arm. 6 years have passed, and the candidates have once again been engaged in another endeavor. An assassin relentlessly searches for the hidden candidates, tasked with finding the last member in the area. Eventually, after spending a while trying to find the last one, the assassin gives up and demands they reveal themselves. Coolly emerging from the darkness, Pio frustrates the assassin and requests to be dismissed. He joins the remaining survivors. Yewol speculates that the gradual improvement in their food quality might indicate an approaching mission. After years of secrecy, First Sword, Lim Sayol, decides to remove his mask in private, revealing an old man. Second Sword, Gu Shinheng, and Third Sword, Sang Ilshin, enter the room and are surprised by Lim's unmasking. The three men sit together, unmasked, and discuss their longing to finally leave this place. Almost 7 years have passed, during which they have transformed 30 out of the 300 children into assassins. However, only one of the 30 trained candidates will conduct the ultimate request and then meet their planned death. The children are gathered for one final task. 3 of them must learn a martial arts technique, while the remaining 27 are tasked with eliminating them. Pio, intrigued by the potential significance of this technique, volunteers to learn it despite the heavy target it may place on his back. Yewol warns him that he is willingly becoming a scapegoat, but Pio confidently asserts that only time will reveal if he becomes a scapegoat or a wolf. As predicted, the 27 candidates managed to kill 2 of the individuals who had learned the martial arts technique. Now only Pio remains. The survivors change their priorities, realizing that taking out the instructors would be easier than killing Pio. Unbeknownst to them, Pio has been nearby, listening to their conversation all along. While the others were out hunting for Pio Wol, he decided to infiltrate the instructor's heavily guarded place. Utilizing the turtle breathing technique, he skillfully gets past the guards and makes his way to the room of First Sword. Searching for clues, he came across a scroll containing the request for the assassination of Wu Gunsang. Pio wondered about the significance of this individual that warranted 7 years of training for 300 children. Was it truly worth all this effort? Just as Pio was delving deeper into his investigation, he sensed someone approaching and swiftly concealed himself. Despite his best efforts to cover his tracks, First Sword detected that someone had been there. On his way out, the First Sword encountered Second Sword and Third Sword and informed them about the intrusion. They deduced that it must have been Pio, as he was the most gifted among the children when it came to infiltration. They knew they had to address Pio's transgression, but punishing him without evidence would likely lead to strong opposition from the other children. Nonetheless, First Sword devised a plan to direct the opposition towards Pio using the Hell Call. All the swords agreed upon this course of action and decided to implement it. First Sword ascended to the highest cliff and began playing haunting music on his flute, which inflicted physical torment on the kids. Despite the torment experienced by the other children from the sound, Pio Wol only feels a slight pain in his ears. Intrigued, he investigates Li Min's integral energy and finds it to be unaffected. Same environment, same food, same training, so why is he different? Pio realizes that the poison in his blood is what makes him different. He figures that the children were fed curse poison through their food and water, and it is being stimulated through sound. When the guard approaches, Pio pretends to struggle to distinguish himself from the other children. The First Sword swiftly appears and stabs Pio's shoulder, intending to kill him, but the Second and Third Sword intervene, reminding him of Pio's importance for the requested task. The First Sword hesitates and instructs the guards to feed the children an antidote, blaming Pio for the incident due to his infiltration. Yewol and Li Min search for Pio, but, after the incident, He is met with distrust from the other children, so he prefers to be in his own company and train. Suddenly appearing from the corner, Pio startles everyone. Yewol questions him about the restriction, knowing that he knows the truth as he was unaffected. Pio, true to himself, questions why he should reveal such a secret and what he stands to gain. After each of them promises loyalty, Pio finally divulges that the restriction is curse poison. The first sword announces to the children that they will be leaving the cave today and assigns Yewol the responsibility of ensuring their safe departure. The children, filled with joy, anticipated finally stepping out of the cave. Piowol and Yewol discuss that their release signifies an impending mission, and Yewol mentions that a few children were detoxified with the help of Li Min, who possessed knowledge about poisons. As they are carried out in a basket, Piowol warns everyone to cover their eyes, knowing that they may struggle with the brightness of the outside world after being in darkness for so long. They quickly follow his advice, but even with their eyes covered, the intensity of the light still discomforts them. Gu Juyang, the captain of the Blood Phantom group, welcomes them and proceeds to take them to a mansion where they can acclimate to the outside world. Gu Juyang warns the children to remain vigilant and not let their guard down, emphasizing that being outside does not remove the need for caution. The children are sent out for their first mission. They follow the fourth sword, who is extremely impressed with their abilities. The fourth sword informs them that their target resides beyond the mountains, in a manner identical to the one they all live in. The man inside the Moon Palace is their target. The scene shifts to Seol Ran roaming in her garden when she is approached by the Aimei sect leader, the elderly master of brilliance. Seol Ran expresses her desire to be excused from the life she has been living. However, she is coarsely reminded that she was just a mere beggar when she was taken in, and as a disciple, she must follow her master. Seol Ran assures her master that it was just a thought. The master reminds her that if she doesn't give her answer today, they will carry out the plan they had devised for her over the past 7 years. Seol Ran assures her master that she will do well. The children are soon attacked by Yu Jinok and his men. Pio Wol realizes that they are at a disadvantage and urges them to disperse. However, Yu Jinok's skills prove remarkable as he goes on a relentless assault, leaving a trail of lifeless bodies behind until only Pio remains. Yu Jinok launches an attack on Pio, but fortunately, he narrowly misses. Pio, understanding that he cannot take on Yu Jinok and his men alone, decides to make his escape. It becomes apparent that someone had leaked information about the children's planned attack. Pio wonders who the mole may be and questions the whereabouts of the fourth sword and their associates. As Pio tries to flee, he sustains injuries, leading him to believe that the Blood Phantom group has abandoned them. In that case, Pio realizes he must rely on his own survival skills. Eventually, Pio comes across a familiar face, Li Min. Li Min immediately collapses in Pio's arms, heavily injured. Pio asks about the others, and she informs him that most of them are dead, while the remaining ones have dispersed. Aware of her impending demise, Li Min asks Pio to stay by her side until the end. Pio promises to seek revenge on the person responsible for ruining their lives, even if it means sacrificing everything. Meanwhile, the fourth sword converses with the captain, expressing the belief that the children won't be able to escape their predicament. They worry about their own safety, as the requester may want to eliminate all evidence to protect their secret. However, the captain assures the fourth sword that their location is secure. Unfortunately, the fourth sword recognizes that they had been tracked through a hidden incense placed on the message. As guards rush to warn them of the imminent attack, they advise the fourth sword and captain to flee, stating that they are no match for the approaching opponents. The fourth sword urges the captain to escape, but the captain, knowing they are after him, decides to face the enemy on the battlefield. In a fierce encounter, the captain confronts Zhonghua, ultimately realizing that the Aimei sect is responsible for their troubles. She was the requester. The captain is resigned to his fate, knowing that the Blood Phantom group will end with him. Suddenly, the elderly master of brilliance enters the building, questioning why it took so long to subdue these lowly assassins. The captain can't believe what the requester has done to him and expresses his disdain, calling them worse than beasts. In a cruel twist, the master crushes his head, ending his life. The master commands her disciples to clean up the aftermath. The man responsible for raising the new assassins is brought before the master. She inquires about the number of assassins he has brought with him. Despite his reluctancy, he eventually reveals that there are 28 assassins. The disciples inform the master that they have only killed 24 so far. The master then turns her attention to Seol Ran, declaring that her role will be crucial going forward. She instructs Seol Ran to prepare her soul and body for the wedding. Meanwhile, Pio has reached the Moon Palace and is formulating a plan to infiltrate it. Dojin, a disciple of the Qingcheng sect, ventures into the mountains to gather herbs. However, he is ambushed by Pio, who begins interrogating him about Wu Gunsang. Surprised by Pio's knowledge, Dojin realizes that Pio is referring to senior brother Wu Gunsang, the highly esteemed figure in the Qingcheng sect. Dojin is left astounded when he suddenly loses control of his own body. When he turns around, he discovers that Pio has taken on his exact appearance. The bewildering transformation leaves Dojin questioning how this is even possible. Disguised as Dojin, Pio successfully infiltrates the Qingcheng sect. He eventually arrives at Wu Gunsang's residence. Meanwhile, the Qingcheng sect leader, known as the Saint of Martial Spirit, is holding a meeting to discuss the recent attack by unknown assassins. The sect leaders find it peculiar that mere assassins would have the audacity to target the Qingcheng sect. They understand the significance of this moment and are determined to ensure that such incidents do not recur, especially when their sect is at a crucial turning point. Pio successfully manages to infiltrate Wu Gunsang's residence and comes face to face with him. The sheer power radiating from Wu Gunsang overwhelms Pio as if he is surrounded by an army of blades. Despite this, Pio engages in a fierce battle with Wu Gunsang. To Pio's advantage, he is able to dodge all of Wu Gunsang's attacks, which only serves to enrage his opponent. Pio's mastery of the martial arts technique he volunteered to learn allows him to defend himself effectively. Amid the fight, Pio seizes a crucial moment and strikes, lodging his sword into Wu Gunsang's chest. Wu Gunsang's father enters his son's residence and grieves over his lifeless body. With his son gone, the honor of their sect has already been tarnished. The senior members convene to discuss how to address this problem and uncover the identity of the murderer. It is discovered that a girl from the main sect had been present at Wu Gunsang's house, making it imperative that this information does not leak out. Fueled by anger, Wu Gunsang's father takes immediate action and kills the girl without hesitation to preserve his son's honor. News of Wu Gunsang's demise eventually reaches the elderly Master of Brilliance, who is enraged by the fact that assassins were able to kill him. The planned wedding and the subsequent domination of the Qingcheng sect in 10 years now lie in ruins. Determined to assist in the investigation, they decide to join the search. Meanwhile, Pio, still in disguise, attempts to escape the sect. However, with increased security due to the assassination, escaping becomes much more challenging. Due to a minor mistake, Pio inadvertently reveals his true identity. Pio engages in a fight with the guards and inquires about the elderly master. The guard reveals that she is the leader of the Ime sect, and discloses that all the disciples of the Ime sect were instructed to aid the Qingcheng sect in capturing the assassin. Pio swiftly eliminates the guard as he notices others approaching. Upon learning that the assassin has escaped, the disciples of the master decide to mount a full-force pursuit. However, Seol Ran steps in and intervenes. Seol Ran recognizes that their current approach will likely not lead to capturing Pio, as his skills surpass their expectations. She speculates that Pio must be exhausted by now and predicts that he will return to the place where he was raised as an assassin, Batang. Acting on Seol Ran's estimation, they send their forces to ambush Pio and successfully track him down. Pio is left pondering how they were able to anticipate his movements with such accuracy. At this rate, he will be in grave danger. In their relentless pursuit of Pio, the forces stumble upon an incredible discovery, a hidden underground base that serves as Pio's training ground as an assassin. To their astonishment, they find an exact replica of the Qingcheng sect building nestled deep below the surface. This mysterious revelation raises countless questions that need answers. However, before delving into the secrets of the replica and unearthing the truth, their primary goal is to locate the assassin himself. The commander, fully aware of the importance of capturing Pio alive, orders his forces to bring him in unharmed. The commander desires not only to bring justice to Pio, but also to ensure that the punishment is carried out appropriately. Seol Ran, sensing the impending danger, realizes that in this underground domain, Pio is no longer the prey. He becomes the hunter, and they, the ones in peril. As the commander continues the investigation, he stumbles across a surprising revelation, a scroll with the task to orchestrate the assassination of Wu Gunsang. This infuriates the commander, who cannot fathom how such a crucial betrayal would lead to the demise of the Qingcheng sect for a meager price. His rage fueled, the commander follows a concealed passage through a concealed wall, which leads him to a hidden dwelling crowded with snakes. Amongst the eerie surroundings, a single book rests upon a table, its cover reading 9 Demonic Flows. As the commander examines the book, a flicker of recognition crosses his face. It is a tome from the long-extinct 9 Demon School, a clan that had faded into history during the ancient conflict known as the War of Heaven and Demons. Memories of reading about them in his studies flew his mind, reminding him of their formidable reputation. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to the commander, Pio cunningly takes advantage of their exploration. One by one, he eliminates the forces, leading them deeper into his domain, a place he knows intimately. Pio is determined to fight to the bitter end, using the environment to his advantage. Realizing the dire situation, the remaining forces regroup and decide to split into pairs, each pair assigned to track down the elusive assassin. However, before making their way towards Pio, they inadvertently trigger a trap, resulting in injuries among their ranks. Still grappling with the shock of the trap, they soon discover that it was only the first of many. They brace themselves for the unexpected dual struggle, a battle not just against Pio, but against the treacherous cave itself. From a safe distance, Pio observes the chaos that consumes the forces. A cold grin dances on his lips, satisfied with the wretched fate he has orchestrated for his pursuers. As the commander ventured deeper into the cave, he contemplated the possibility that Pio was utilizing the abandoned base of the 9 Demon School. The increasing disappearances of their forces left them in a state of panic, unable to discern Pio's whereabouts. To calm the tension, Zhang Hua assured them that Pio wouldn't make any hasty moves due to his injuries. She urged the remaining forces to regroup and stick together. Agreeing with Zhonghua's assessment, Pio understood that he couldn't afford to delay too long. Recognizing that time wasn't on his side, he made the decision to strike. A fierce battle ensued between Pio and Zhonghua, resulting in her losing an eye due to Pio's swift maneuver. However, just as Pio was about to make his next move, Seol Ran confronted him, sword pressed against his neck. She implored him to surrender, but Pio had other plans. He sensed the energy emanating from Seol Ran and knew that going against her would be suicidal. In a crucial moment, the commander appeared, ready to take control of the situation. He questioned Pio about the motive behind the assassination of Wu Gunsang. Pio revealed the truth, disclosing the events and circumstances that had transpired over the past 7 years. Bought into this life at a young age, he claimed his actions were dictated by the absence of choice rather than a clear distinction between right and wrong. The commander, realizing the constraints imposed on Pio, began to grasp the complexity of the situation. Curiosity piqued, the commander sought answers regarding the identity of the requester behind the assassination. Instead of executing Pio, he chose to drag him along, heavily injured. With a somber tone, he declared that Pio should experience pain beyond comprehension, a fate worse than hell. The commander, filled with resignation and fueled by frustration, forcefully drags Pio Wool to the edge of a cliff. One final time, he implores Pio for the identity of the requester behind the assassination. However, Pio responds with a cool, enigmatic smile, revealing no further information. The commander releases Pio, allowing him to plummet into a sea of snakes below. The venomous creatures eagerly sink their fangs into his body, but the venom only serves to empower Pio, enhancing his strength and healing his wounds. Emerging from the ordeal, Pio stands more powerful than ever before. In a shift of scene, a group of martial artists unknowingly disturb a legendary martial master. With a mere flick of his wrist, the formidable master easily conquers the martial artists, leaving them in awe. It becomes evident that such a martial master had never been witnessed in Sichuan before. Recognizing their mistake and fearing for their well-being, the martial artists humbly concede, promising to ensure that a mistress tends to the master's needs while he rests undisturbed. They sincerely seek forgiveness for their offenses. Yielding to their plea, the master urges them to respect his privacy for the next 3 days. When the mistress inquires about his name, he answers calmly, revealing himself to be Pio Wall. However, his appearance bears little resemblance to the previous Pio Wall. As the rain poured down relentlessly, 3 individuals, accompanied by a monk, found themselves lost amidst their continuous bickering. In the midst of their argument, they became aware of another presence, Pio Wol. The woman, Ranju, introduced herself first, followed by the man named Daoshi Go. The monk, Hyul Seung, completed the introductions. Curiosity piqued, Ranju inquired about Pio's destination and soon discovered that they shared the same journey, to Chengdu. She extended an invitation for Pio to join them. Pio agreed to travel with them so that he could learn about the masters along the way. They boarded a rice cargo ship. During the voyage, Ranju questioned Pio about his purpose in traveling to Chengdu. He revealed that he intended to meet with acquaintances who owed him a debt. Ranju, in turn, disclosed her business-related motives for traveling to Chengdu. Pio's absence of a clan affiliation intrigued all of them. However, their journey soon encountered a perilous interruption. Pirates descended upon the ship, seeking to plunder the cargo of rice. In a show of unity, the masters gathered together, prepared to confront the pirates and protect the ship and its cargo. The masters successfully repelled the pirate invasion, bringing an end to the chaotic encounter. Ranju, curious about Pio Wol's accommodation plans in Chengdu, extends an invitation for him to join their group. Daoshi takes notice of Ranju's evident attraction to Pio and realizes that there is something unique and mysterious about him. Pio's eyes speak of experiences and hardships endured. Ranju becomes frustrated when Pio politely declines her invitation. She cannot fathom how someone could reject the company of a captivating woman like herself. Pio, on the other hand, has been closely observing the masters and deduces that their display of power was merely an attempt to showcase their abilities and gain recognition. He questions whether Chengdu truly requires such forces. As their journey progresses, Daoshi informs Pio that they will arrive in Chengdu the following morning. Riding on their horses, they extend one last invitation to Pio, urging him to join them. However, Pio chooses to decline, explaining that he has personal matters to attend to on his own. Once the group departs, Pio finds a hotel and secures a room for himself. The other patrons in the establishment are taken aback by his striking beauty and gaze shamelessly at him. One man shamelessly harasses Pio, demanding that he prove his gender by removing his clothes. Pio, with effortless grace, swiftly throws a chopstick into the man's eye, displaying no hesitation. The man, fueled by anger, rises and prepares to attack Pio, but no one could have predicted the lightning speed and precision with which Pio swiftly disables them all in an instant. The group of masters arrived in Chengdu the following morning and immediately noticed the brutal atmosphere. Half of the people roaming the streets appeared to be carrying weapons. Ranju, full of excitement, greeted Zhang Muriang, the captain of the Black Cloud Corps. Daoshi revealed that they were in Chengdu after a long break to earn money. The monk asked the captain if they would actually be involved in this matter. In response, the captain suggested that if the task seemed too burdensome, they were allowed to leave. It was revealed that the Qingcheng sect and the Ma sect had been in conflict for the past 7 years, with no one knowing the reason behind their disputes. This conflict between the two strongest sects had split Sichuan. The captain believed that a massive clash between them was imminent. Pio excused himself and went down to the lobby. The owner treated him like a lord after the previous events. Pio asked the owner who he should consult if he wanted to know about the internal affairs of Sichuan. Following the owner's suggestion, Pio left to meet the workshop owner on the street. Entering the shop, Pio inquired about the owner's punishment of a worker. The owner explained that the worker was Tang So-chu, a descendant of the Tang clan who had been using a hammer without permission. The owner further revealed the history of the Tang clan and how they had betrayed the Sichuan sects. Because of this history, the owner feared that allowing the descendants to use weapons might lead to a repeat of past events. Pio then ordered a flying sword and asked if orders for weapons had increased. The shop owner confirmed that orders had doubled recently due to the fighting between the Ma sect and Qingcheng sect.
Hey viewers, subscribe for more.